Welcome to the Business Spotlight, where today the spotlight is shining on Andy Muddle from Medfarm Limited. Welcome, Andy, to the Business Spotlight.
Hi, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm great. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. To start us off with, Andy, tell our viewers and our listeners a little bit more about you and your business, please.
Well, I'm a scientist by training and did a degree in chemistry and moved into the pharmaceutical industry after 15 years working for people. I started my business called Medfarm Limited in the UK, and it's a pharmaceutical development business.
Right.
So what that means is we have a lot of scientists working on projects for clients where we develop formulations. These formulations go into the clinic, and those formulations hopefully will be launched onto the market.
Wow, that sounds quite exciting. So you said that you started the business after 15 years of doing this yourself. Now, is having a business something that you had always aspired to do? Is that something that you dreamt of as a little boy, or did it how did it come about?
Well, I sort of fell into it, really. I'd worked for companies for a while in the sort of technical area, developing technologies and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And then this was a long time ago, so you have to excuse me, but in 1999, the business I was working in sort of pivoted and went into an area I had little experience with. And so I stepped away. And at that point, I thought, at 40, 45, what am I going to do? Who's going to employ me? And I thought, well, maybe this is the time to start my own business up.
Wow. So you've been in business since 1999?
Yes, our own business has been set up since 99.
Wow. So you've got some good experience and loads of learnings and challenges that you've overcome, I take it.
Yeah, a lot.
Okay, let's delve into those. So tell me a little bit, because 99, one of the interviews I had a while ago, one of the business owners has been in business since 93. And I think this time round, or with the pandemic, although it wasn't classed as a recession, he'd been through 3 recessions. So it must be pretty similar for you then.
Yeah, we have been through various changes.
Mm-hmm.
We set the business up out of a university, and it was King's College London. And we had a couple of academics who had skill base in certain areas. Those areas were skin, dermatology, and inhalation. And we define those areas in pharmaceutics as topical dosage form. So topical means topical to the eye, all sorts of areas where you could apply creams on to the skin and surfaces, and obviously lung and nose. And so we set the business up as a sort of spin out from King's College, but in reality, we didn't have anything to spin out. We had a skill base and an idea that we could set a business up.
Wow.
And we were in London for 6 years in the university facilities, renting space, growing up the business from up to about 15, 20 people.
Okay.
And then we became too large for the university. And we then moved out of King's College, which is Waterloo area, and we moved down to Guildford.
Right.
And we have a building which we leased from the Surrey Research Park.
Yeah. Nice.
And well, we've had the same building for a while, but we've taken on the neighbouring building. So we've got 2 buildings on a science park, 14,000 square foot on each building, I think, and 100 people.
Wow, amazing.
And then what we did a couple of years ago is, well, maybe 5 years ago, we set up a US facility.
Okay.
North Carolina, there's an area called Research Triangle Park. That's quite big on the research area, quite a hub for science and so forth. Durham, Raleigh, and Chapel Hill is a big area for universities in the US. And so we set up a unit there, complementary unit, currently has about 70 people.
Amazing.
So you had the 100 plus the 70, we're about 170 people.
So what are some of your challenges, or what have been some of your key challenges as a business?
Challenges are obviously growing the business, getting the right people has been always a challenge. We've got a great set of people and a good team. And I think one of the challenges is just retention of staff.
Okay.
You know, as a small business, you give lots of opportunity to staff, you train staff, but you really can't compete with the big pharma companies.
Okay.
And therefore, you know, sometimes you end up training staff, and then after a few years they move on, and which is fine. But in the end, it's a little bit frustrating. But I think it's life.
And has that been a kind of consistent challenge across all the years that you've been in business?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Because, you know, we are a very skilled business, and we educate all our staff coming in, and then they become very marketable.
Do you find that in the last couple of years, and, you know, Brexit is, funnily enough, I heard something on the radio about that yesterday, but has that had an impact on your industry? I
would say not, no.
Okay, good.
We've always had a big presence in the US, so clients, we have clients around the world. But I think we've had between 50 and 60% of our business coming out of the US, and that's grown to 60 to 70%.
Wow, okay, huge.
So Brexit doesn't make a blind bit of difference. We're developing a dosage form for a global product.
Yeah, okay.
So in the end, they come to us because we're really specialists. There aren't many companies that compete in this area, and we positioned ourselves as the best scientific, technical company.
Okay. So nicely leading on from that, what do you do well as a company? What are some of your strengths?
Well, we've focused on, as I said, creams, ointment, gels, and when you look at the total dosage forms in the world, 60-70% of dosage forms are tablets and capsules.
Yeah.
And then you move on to injectables, and so the topical area is a pretty niche area.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the big pharma companies don't want to run groups with the expertise.
Right.
So they've always contracted out. And there's quite a big industry of topical development and dermatology development. And because we've been in the industry for years, we know all these players. And as they move around from company to company, we basically develop products with a number of individuals we've known for a long time. But that doesn't stop us working with other companies. And so we work with, you know, the big pharma companies, right down to one man and his dog out of Switzerland, as an example.
So really, you have to do a lot of relationship building with your contacts, because as they move, they take you with them.
Yep. Nice. It's all about making sure you've got, I mean, developing a pharmaceutical product is not cheap. No. And you can go into these relationships with companies and they can not deliver, but take your money. And therefore, having the reputation to be able to deliver and do it on a reasonable time frame and to budget is so important. And it means that where we sit, you know, there's three things in life. In business, there's quality, timelines, and money. And you can't do all three together. You need to do two of the three successfully. And so we always sit on, you know, high quality. The cost is the cost, and it's a little bit it's quite expensive to do these things, but we always deliver on the as much as we can on product. But R&D is R&D. There's always a risk. Yeah.
What have been some of your biggest wins over these years?
The big wins have always been working with one or a number of clients where they become a major customer. Right. And so, you know, we've had relationships with big pharma, and they turn on to dermatology as an example, and then suddenly we've got loads of business.
Yeah.
And then we find that sometimes it goes in cycles, and that company loses interest, and then we have another company. So we've always managed to, you know, build good relationships with a number of key clients that complement the smaller projects. Okay. And the big wins have always been, you know, finding that big customer. And as you get bigger and bigger, it becomes more and more important to, I say, feed the beast. You know, you're a contract company. you have all these people to hire. Getting
Yeah.
good projects and lengthy projects means that we're very stable.
As a business owner, and especially coming from a totally different background, what have been some of your biggest learnings, and especially maybe some things that you hadn't anticipated when you stepped into business?
I guess, you know, the key thing is that, you know, business is just parallel to life.
Okay.
And we've had some births, deaths, and marriages,
Okay.
and you don't think you don't think about that when you're in business, and you've got to deal with all those things.
Yes.
So those have been some of the challenges that I didn't really think about.
Okay.
When I set the business up,
Yeah.
because obviously my feeling is that when you've got a business of 20, 30 people, it's quite easy to manage and, you know, build and so forth. But then as soon as you get above 30, it becomes more and more challenging, because there are a lot more human issues that you've got to deal with.
Yeah.
And obviously we can hire, and we have hired specialists that handle those things for us, you know, HR and finance and so forth. So you can find people with the skills, but obviously as you get a bigger organization, it becomes more challenging to manage everybody's expectations.
And equally, I would imagine when you're a smaller business, you tend to, as a business owner, you know everybody, right? But as you grow bigger, I would imagine that having those same kind of relationships across the board with everyone becomes harder.
Exactly. And I mean, I was the CEO, and then we had an investment into the company 2018, after 15 years of running it like a corner shop, in that, you know, we basically managed the business and individuals. We could only buy what we wanted to buy. And then we got an investor in, and it changed us dramatically. Okay. But at that point, I moved away from being the CEO. And as you just said, once you're not in the building as much as you can, that you start to lose track of the new hires, and they don't know you. So it's difficult to make sure people know who you are and have that presence, especially when you're going in once a quarter, once a month.
Well, what does that feel like as a business owner when that happens? When you sort of walk in and you go, "Gosh, there's like 5 people that I've just walked past that I don't know."
It's scary. And they're all young, they're all ambitious, they're all keen, and it is scary to basically understand that you don't know everybody in your business. Yeah.
What still keeps you awake at night, business-wise, obviously?
Well, making sure that we can keep the lights on and keep working. As I said, you know, you can keep track of what's in the pipeline of your business. And you can see what's coming into the business for the next 3 to 6 months. But after that, you've got to have a good sales team to be able to make sure that we can bring in new revenues. The current environment is a bit scary. You know, with the Silicon Bank story going down, recession in Ukraine means that some smaller companies who are raising money are trying to make their money last longer. Delay decisions. Some of them are struggling to raise the next bout of money to be able to do what they want to do. So, you know, it's going to be challenging over the next 3 to 6 months of how the economy goes for the pharma, healthcare, and biotech industry. Because they're all our customers. Yeah.
And actually, I was going to say, actually, that nicely leads me on. I always do a section around, you know, future forward thinking for your business and industry. So what are you predicting for your industry for the next 5 years, or within the next 5 years?
Well, I think I would try and break it into 2 and say, what are we predicting over the next 6 months to a year? And then what do we predict afterwards that? And I think over the next 3 to 9 months, it's going to be very difficult. And that means that we would hope to maintain our revenues and profits, but don't increase them.
Right.
I mean, if we can do better, we will. Over the last 20 years of business, every year we've grown profit and revenue.
Nice.
This will be one of the rare years where we we're a bit stagnant.
Okay.
I think what will happen then is it'll settle itself down, and we might be in the new norm. But in the end, we're always going to need new healthcare products and new pharmaceutical products. So my prediction is that we as a company will start to accelerate in our growth again. We're looking to, as I said, we're an R&D company, and what we're looking to do is to find a way of moving into the manufacturing of commercial products. We currently have the ability to manufacture clinical material, which is small scale, smaller scale, but we are aspiring to identify a manufacturing facility, and then we will have R&D and manufacturing. And in a way, pharmaceutical manufacturing is like having an annuity. If you deliver on your product and the quality, then people don't move from manufacturing facilities.
And then you're trying to see that whole cycle through, I guess, as well.
Exactly. We want to hold on to and keep our relationships with clients through the R&D phase into commercial manufacturing. That will give the business a steady revenue, and then R&D will fluctuate revenue on top of that, and then that'll also feed into the manufacturing as products get further down the development pathway.
Now, for you, because obviously you've been running the business, the R&D side for so long, to then set up a manufacturing side, how complicated is that? Like, is there a lot of red tape? Is that like a 1, 2, 3 year process? How does that work?
We wouldn't set it up from scratch.
Right.
I think that the idea is to acquire, find, lease, borrow, but it would have to be a company a unit that was actually functioning.
Right.
And then we would then, build on that reputation and build on the capabilities and capacities.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Do you equally have certain country restrictions with manufacturing that you might not have with the R&D side?
Yeah, I mean, obviously a manufacturing facility has to be of the appropriate quality. So you need to have approval from the FDA or the European regulatory authorities or the UK regulatory body. So if you're going to manufacture into a territory, you need to have the appropriate quality. So a manufacturing facility can globally manufacture products for the global, but you've got to have the right regulatory approval. Yeah,
that makes sense. What about you yourself? What do you still want to achieve in the next 5 years?
I'm still a co-owner, so we are backed by a private equity company. So in the end, there will be a lifetime of the current owners, and that at some point we will find additional investments. So I'd like to see Medfarm grow over the next 3 to 5 years, and at that point there'll probably be full retirement for me, but at the moment I'm still involved heavily in the company, but try to balance work and life in a nice way.
Do you find that easy to do?
I do sometimes too easily, people tell me.
Oh, too easily. So retirement's going to be a breeze for you, is that what you're saying?
I hope so, yeah. Okay.
So talk me through your inspiration. Like who inspires you? Who do you look up to?
I'm inspired by the team that works for us.
Nice.
And the young people and the enthusiasm that they have for the business. So I think that's the thing that really pleases me and inspires me is the team that we've hired.
I love that. Actually, you're the first one to say that. I absolutely love that. It's amazing.
Cool.
I love that. Anyway, sorry. What advice, if you had the opportunity to go back and talk to 18-year-old Andy, what advice would you give him?
I would probably advise that to do it sooner. I should have done it 5 or 10 years sooner to set my own business up.
Nice.
It was, I think, I'm trying to think how old my kids were when I set the business up. I had 2 kids under 10. And I guess it's easy to, be in an employed job and draw the salary and have all the benefits. But when you step away and then you suddenly do it yourself, there's a period of uncertainty. And I remember we were doing it for 6 months or a year, and we were in Waterloo. And me and this colleague of mine, my co-founder, we ended up going to McDonald's, and we were sitting there thinking, can we keep this business going? We haven't got any revenue. How are we going to do it? What are we going to do? And in the end, we became salesmen very quickly and realized we needed to really sell, the skills and the business better.
Yeah. And actually, when you look back, what stopped you from maybe starting a business sooner?
Comfort factor.
Okay.
You're doing a job. You're thinking about it. If you want to change and you move, what do you normally do? You just sort of look at the job ads. Oh yeah, that sounds great. You then move to the next company.
Yes.
A lot of people don't think about the opportunity to set their own business up until later in life.
And I think it's a difference as well, isn't it? With if you move to a different company, you know that if you leave company X in March and you start company Y in April, you have no difference in salary because you go from having your last to the next one. Whereas a business owner, we all know it could take goodness long how long before you even able to draw salary back out.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, totally get that. So what would you say to anybody who's thinking about starting a business right now, who's maybe just started? What would your top 2 tips be for anyone starting out?
Make sure you really know the market you're in.
Okay.
Who the competitors are and what the situation is.
Okay.
And think internationally.
Interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Because when we set the business up, we obviously knew what we could possibly do, and we've built on that skill base.
Yeah. But
we didn't think about where the development buck is.
Yep.
And then the penny dropped at a certain point, thinking we need to be in America. And then you end up sort of traveling suitcase, going to the key areas where the biotech hubs are. Then you realize how easy it is to do business in America. And that's where your clients are. And, you just need to go to, Boston, New York, New Jersey, North Carolina, San Diego, and San Francisco. And you have all the pharmaceutical companies in those areas.
Yeah, totally.
So you can get there. People are very willing to talk to you in America, do business with you, as long as you can convince them that what you're offering is unique service.
Just going to pick up on something you said, and I just want to make sure that I understood it in the way that you meant it. Are you saying that it's easier to do business in the States than it is here?
No, I wouldn't say it's. Sorry,
okay.
No.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I just wanted to clarify that.
No, it's easy to pick up business in the US.
Right.
On the language front, on the science front. So it's easy to have business relationships and do business there. We had the business in Guildford and was doing 50% of our revenue out of US clients.
Okay.
And then 5 years ago, we basically put a lab there with American individuals there, and then grow the business further, because there is a tendency that if you can do business with a company just around the corner, and that company has the same language or the same mentality. Yeah. So we felt that having an American team would help us with our American clients. And that has been the case. But there's challenges because, there's 2 things we found out, or I found out, is, lab space is very in short supply in the UK, and it's expensive.
Right. Okay.
Whereas in the US, it's slightly the opposite.
Yeah.
But staff costs are more expensive in the US than in the UK. So there's a balance here.
Yeah.
And having that right balance, is important.
Okay. How is having a business compared to what you thought it was going to be?
Well, I can't remember because it was such a long time ago. I think, when you set the business up, you start to realize how it can operate and how you can do business in your sector, how the relationships with business hubs and government works, and you all this knowledge you don't even think about when you're in certain roles within a corporate organization. And it takes a while to build that experience up, because when you start off your business, you're trying to be a jack of all trades, running your website, running your HR, interacting with your accounting groups. And then as you get bigger and bigger, it becomes that you don't need to worry about these things, and you do them in a slightly different way. You probably would have been more worried about getting it done at a cheaper cost, but having a presence as a website, for instance. But as you grow, you realize the look of that website and the professionalism of it is so important, and therefore, spending a few more pounds on it to get it right is important.
Makes a difference. Okay. Last question. Knowing what you know now, would you start a business again?
Yes, I would do it if I was, if my current business ownership changed and I was sitting here, I wouldn't start another business. At 60-ish, I don't think I had the enthusiasm as I did. But if I was going back, as I said, I would definitely do it again. If I had the choice, I'd do it 5 years, 10 years sooner than I did. But then there's a balance of would I have had the skills to do it? Excuse me.
I guess, and that's a great point, isn't it? And we often talk about that. I talk about that with a lot of my clients around the skills that you didn't know you needed having a business. And do you ever know that until you start running a business? Probably not. No,
and you can pick up those skills quickly, and customer relationships, talking to people, presenting, all of those things can be done pretty quickly, and you can become proficient at it, and accelerate that growth. So I think starting sooner would have been the thing I would have done.
Okay. I love the one. On that note, we shall end. I absolutely love that one. I think that's a great one for anyone watching this that's kind of on the fence themselves about starting a business. Just do it, is what I'm hearing you say there.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. Absolutely love that. Thank you so much, Andy, for your time and for sharing your story with us today. The link to connect with Andy and to his business are in the comment section below. Thank you for watching this Business Spotlight. Until next time.
Yep. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.